Tax delinquent properties is probably my favorite type of property to buy, and it's my favorite list overall. Stay tuned and I'll break it down for you. Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Graylan Stewart. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd appreciate that. And if you feel that you find value in this video at the end, please give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. So I do upload pretty much every single day. But my business is all about wholesaling real estate, okay? Now, we buy every type of list out there for my wholesaling business, okay? Now, we do a ton of marketing, and pretty much every marketing strategy out there we currently do in my business right now. But my favorite kind of list, it's not my number one list, but it's my favorite list of all, is the tax delinquent list. So let me explain. First of all, what is a tax delinquent? Okay, tax delinquent property. So these are properties typically that the sellers have neglected to pay their property taxes over X amount of years, okay? Now, in most counties across the U.S., now, first of all, let me preface it like this. So different states are different, okay? Some states are tax lien states. Some states are tax deed states. And some states are both, right? So what's the difference? A tax lien state means you could go pay somebody's property taxes off and you get a guaranteed rate of return on that money that you spent for their property taxes, and they have a certain amount of time to pay those off, or you get deeded the property. That's a tax lien state. It's usually like a 3-year period, and you're usually guaranteed like 15 to 25% return on your money. Okay, so that's a tax lien state. Now, a tax deed state is typically like if a property goes behind on their property taxes, let's say 3 years, because that's how it is in a lot of states. They get behind 3 years, they're going to auction that house off at a county auction. Usually it happens once a year. Now, when that happens, you're paying whatever your auction bid is for the property, and then you get deeded the property. Oftentimes, you can get the property for what the taxes are owed on it. But many times these days, it's pretty competitive, and you got a lot of people bidding on these properties. But nevertheless, you're typically going to get it way less than market value. Okay, so that's the difference in a tax deed and a tax lien. So property tax delinquencies are my favorite type of list, simply because they're usually pretty motivated, right? But oftentimes they are in denial, like a lot of the sellers are that we speak to. They usually have issues in some form or fashion, whether that's personal or just house related or both a lot of times. But sometimes they're in denial of that, but oftentimes they're super motivated because they're aware of the situation that they're in, right? Now, tax delinquent properties are my favorite because not only are they really far behind on taxes, that's a huge issue and a huge problem that we can actually solve. So we are in the problem solving business, as all businesses are, right? So how can we solve this problem? We can actually pay their taxes off and then help them find a different house to live, to move into or whatever, so they can move on and start over, right? But oftentimes, they're just so far behind on taxes and they don't have the money to pay for them, or they would have already paid, most likely, right? And usually what that means is if they're behind on their property taxes, they're probably behind on other things. I mean, I've literally seen houses that they don't even have running water or electricity, but people live in them. And that's the reality on a lot of these tax delinquent properties. So obviously, if they can't pay their taxes, they can't pay a lot of other things. And many times they don't even have food to eat. So there's one scenario that I actually went to a property where they were behind on taxes. We were negotiating and we came up with a number that we both could live with. And then I went by there to actually look at the house so I could take pictures and do a quick video. And they literally had no running water. So they would use the bathroom in a corner of one of the rooms. They did not have electricity. They were stealing like cable from a neighbor's house down the road. I don't know if they knew about it or not, but they were getting cable, but they had no lights, no electricity, no refrigerator to keep anything cold. They literally had no money and no food to eat. So I felt really bad for them. I actually there was a Little Caesars around the corner from their property. And I went to Little Caesars, bought them a couple of large pizzas, and a handful of snacks and, waters and Coke and things like that, just so they could get by for a few days at least with that little bit of food and a little bit of help. I just wanted to help them out, not only just help them by buying their property, but just help them, physically. And, they were super appreciative. But the point is, a tax delinquent property is oftentimes my favorite because they're really motivated and they need help really, really bad, right? When someone's going through divorce, obviously they got to sell the house, but it's not in dire need of selling now. But tax delinquency, if you're about to lose your house at the auction, you need to sell it now. Okay, why would you sell it now as opposed to let it get auctioned off? Okay, so if you sell it now to an investor like me, at least they're going to get some money for the property as opposed to completely just getting kicked out of their house and getting nothing for it. So, because literally if it goes to the tax auction, they have no shot unless they pay their taxes before the auction happens. So that's where we can help them. We solve problems, and it's not really solving their problem if you're buying a house at the tax auction, right? It's solving their problem if you can buy it before it gets to that point. So oftentimes, they are super appreciative, but many times they're also super in denial as well. So, you just got to kind of, coach them through that and try to help them out the best you can, because, it is what it is. They have to pay their taxes or they're going to lose the house. So that's where we could come save the day. And that's where your sales skills come into play big time in this scenario, because, what are they going to do? When their house is auctioned off, they have nothing, right? We can at least give them some money now. So that's opportunity for us to get a big discount, but it's also opportunity for them to at least get some money in their pocket to where they can start over. Just like the guy that I helped, that I bought food for, what he was going to do with the money, he wasn't going to get a lot because the house was terrible, right? I think we were offering him like $18,000 for this house at that time. That was like 3 years ago or so. But he was going to buy like a camper type of a truck and live in that. That's a good solution for someone who has nothing and no real means of making money. So he would be able to do that. Unfortunately, we didn't end up buying that property because, it just didn't work out. Basically he just ended up losing it at auction. You can't help everybody. We want to, but we can't always help everybody, because that's the hardest part. It's my favorite list, but at the same time, they still have to want to sell, at the end of the day. So obviously he needed to sell, but he still have to want to sell, right? He just was in denial. He thought he could actually end up coming up with money, I guess, to pay those back taxes. And I don't think that it did, y'all, but I didn't go back and look that up. I don't even remember the address now, because I am kind of curious now that I'm thinking about it, if he actually came up with the money or if it got auctioned off. My bet would be that it actually got auctioned off. So anyways, tax delinquent properties, y'all, it's my favorite list because, they are super motivated typically if you can get them past that denial portion or stage that a lot of them are in. But not only that, they're free and clear houses. So obviously wholesaling, you need equity to make a deal work. Usually these are free and clear. So obviously there's 100% equity in most cases. I would honestly say probably 95% of the cases are, free and clear because it's not escrowed in their mortgage anymore, and they inherited this house in a lot of cases, or it was just their parents' house and they stayed in it for all these years and didn't realize they probably even had to pay taxes because they never had to before. But that's usually what happens a lot of times, unfortunately. But and usually, if they don't know that much, the house is in bad shape typically. So I have noticed that, a lot of the houses that are at the auctions are in really, really bad shape. Because I go to the tax auctions myself. I've never bought a house at one because they always go for such high prices, because there's, hedge fund representatives and just local buyers that don't necessarily buy from wholesalers. They just, want deals, and they don't really know the wholesaling game necessarily. So they typically just pay more. They're not paying necessarily retail, but they're paying very close to retail. And obviously I'm an investor, so I don't pay anywhere close to retail, right? But I have bought a lot of land and lots at the auctions over the last 2 years. Actually, I've bought at least 10 that I can think of that all made good profit, and I still own some of them, and I sell those on rent to own as well, just like I do other properties that I've talked about in other videos. But nevertheless, y'all, this video is about why tax delinquent lists are my favorite. So I think I've covered all that. It's definitely my favorite, just for those reasons. So drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts. If this was helpful at all, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, I'd appreciate that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. What's your favorite list? What's your best list even? I've talked about what my best list or my best lead source and different things like that on other videos, but this is definitely my favorite just because they definitely have a reason they need to sell right now, but they still gotta want to sell. But anyways, go get your tax delinquent list, y'all. It's a good list, and you get it typically for free or next to nothing almost directly from your county. That's the best lead source there is. So talk to you guys later. See you in the next video.